Day 40 of the war in Gaza, the IDF is confirming that troops have entered Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City in what is being described as a precise and targeted operation in order to overcome a complicated Hamas stronghold and potentially rescue hostages. And Al-TV's Steve Leibovich reports.
The IDF says the military is not overrunning Al-Shifa hospital, but rather hitting Hamas gunmen wherever they are hiding. The army is calling for gunmen in the complex to surrender.
Based on intelligence information and an operational necessity, IDF forces are carrying out a precise and targeted operation against Hamas in a specified area in the Shifa hospital. The IDF is conducting a ground operation in Gaza to defeat Hamas and rescue our hostages. Israel is at war with Hamas, not with the civilians in Gaza.
The army has said that tunnels under Al-Shifa lead to a massive complex of underground bunkers from where Hamas runs its terrorist operations.
We also gave ample time to stop this unlawful abuse of the hospital. The IDF has also facilitated wide-scale evacuation of the hospital and maintained regular dialogue with hospital authorities.
Earlier, the army announced that it had captured a number of Hamas governmental sites in the heart of Gaza City after troops engaged in fierce battles with Hamas gunmen in the terrorist capital.
ראיתם את החיילים של גולני יושבים בפרלמנט של עזה. הדבר הזה הוא רב משמעות. אני יכול לומר לכם שבצפון הרצועה החמאס איבד שליטה.
Forces arriving at the hospital brought medical equipment and include medical teams and Arabic speakers who have undergone training to prepare for the Al-Shifa operation with the intent that no harm is caused to civilians being used by Hamas as human shields. Airstrikes continue on Hamas targets throughout Gaza. The Air Force struck some 200 targets over the past day, including terror operatives, weapon production sites, anti-tank missile launch positions, and Hamas command centers. All the while searching for leads to free the hostages.
ואני אומר לכולנו, איזה זכות מוסרית יש לנו להפסיק את הלחימה שלנו כל עוד האנשים האלה שבויים בידי חיות האדם של החמאס.
Despite its loss of control in northern Gaza, Hamas is able to manage sporadic rocket fire into Israel from the south. 2 people were lightly hurt in Ashkelon following a rocket strike, and cars and buildings were damaged. There were also damages in Tel Aviv Yafo from falling debris after Iron Dome shot down a rocket over the city.
Joining us now with the latest security updates is Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs Research Fellow and journalist Yoni Benmanim. Yoni, since the start of the IDF operations, it has been clear that a military goal is to reach the underground bunkers under Al-Shifa hospital, where the Hamas terrorist command is located. Now the IDF is there and has entered, but not occupied the hospital. It is a delicate operation, so to speak. How is it being done?
It's being done by Israeli special forces who were trained for this mission for a long time and based on a very accurate intelligence information. If you notice, we don't hear anything since the raid this morning, which still goes on. And we can only speculate, but I rather wait for the IDF official announcement to know what are the results of this raid. In any case, Israel has proved that it can get anywhere, any place in Gaza. There's no immunity to any terrorist, and all of the targets of killing Hamas and destroying the military infrastructure will eventually be completed and achieved.
Yes, we've seen the IDF soldiers really reaching everywhere in recent days, the parliament and so on. Now, Israel has specially trained forces for this part of the operation, Arabic speakers and medical staff, incubators for babies and so on. Can the objectives be accomplished without the remaining patients and medical staff being harmed, like the whole world is watching now?
Yes, definitely. This is a very accurate and targeted mission. The IDF is operating only on accurate intelligence information, and of course, they are concentrating on that, but you know, there might be also terrorists who are trying to disguise themselves as medical crews or as patients. So this has to be done very carefully. Also, the Shin Bet is participating in this army raid in Shifa hospital, and they have their own methods to identify the terrorists who are trying to escape or are trying to disguise themselves as civilians. So I trust the Shin Bet.
Yes, and let's not forget there's a whole underground city under Shifa Hospital that the IDF has to take care of. Now, really, U.S. officials have confirmed that the Gaza hospitals have been used by Hamas. Would that be helpful in being able to explain the need for the operation into Shifa?
We have to see the results of what is happening. I'm sure that, let me say that I estimate that the Hamas escaped before the IDF got there, and they probably tried to erase all the evidence and try to, if there were hostages being held there, they moved them, and if there were terrorists, they fled. So I hope that the IDF will be able to find the tunnels and the central command post of the Hamas under the hospital. If they succeed, if the army succeed, this will be a very important achievement for the Israeli Haspara to show the world how they are using hospitals, schools, and other civilian facilities for human shields and to protect themselves.
Definitely. Now, Israel now controls northern Gaza, but there are still Hamas strongholds in the south as well as the other civilians. Are there signs that troops may soon head in that direction?
Yes, the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant already said that we are heading towards the south of Gaza. And I think this is very important because, as you said, the Hamas strongholds in the south of Gaza Strip are even bigger and more dangerous than the ones in the north of Gaza, the one that the IDF already occupied and destroyed. So it's essentially that the IDF will get to any point in Gaza Strip, south, center, north, wherever, just to eliminate all this military infrastructure.
Yes, one of the main goals of this war. Yoni, thank you so much for joining us today, and stay safe.
Experience the power of truth with ILTV News. If you're looking for quality content and captivating visuals, join our news community and become an integral part of our team as we embark on a mission to unveil the real Israel, dismantling the web of lies and misinformation that surround reporting on Israel. By subscribing to ILTV News, you will not only have access to the latest updates, but you will also amplify our message, creating a ripple effect that carries the truth far and wide. Subscribe today and help reshape the narrative. Available on the web, Android, and Apple.
A deal for the potential exchange of hostages between Israel and Hamas appears to be close. The Israel War Cabinet received an update on hostage talks, and the Prime Minister says that the deal will be made public as soon as there are concrete developments. ILTV's William Sharon has more.
Shin Bet Chief Ronen Bar returned from meeting his Egyptian counterpart in Cairo and briefed the War Cabinet on the proposed hostage deal being brokered by Qatar with U.S. and Egyptian involvement. Numerous reports indicate that the agreement will likely involve the exchange of minors grabbed among some 240 hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th, and Palestinian minors held in Israel for security violations. Prime Minister Netanyahu related to the potential deal, saying it will be made public as soon as there are concrete developments. Netanyahu's comment followed remarks by U.S. President Joe Biden, intimating that the hostage deal will happen soon.
Mr. President, can you address the hostages directly and give them a message of hope and resilience in these troubling times?
Yes, I can. I've been talking with the people involved every single day. I believe it's going to happen, but I don't want to get into detail.
What's your message for the families?
Hang in there. We're coming.
Pressure inside Israel is building. The families of Israelis being held hostage by Hamas kicked off a 5-day march from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem to demand the government do more to secure the hostages' release.
We're marching to the Prime Minister to shout to him that we need them home now. We need them home now. We need him to do everything he can to bring our loved ones back home.
The government's two stated goal in the war after Hamas rampage on October 7th have always been to end Hamas rule in Gaza and to return the hostages.
And to elaborate on this delicate deal in the diplomatic front, we're now joined by former ambassador to the United States, Dani Ayalon. Dani, given all the different reports we're getting on the proposed hostages deal, can you provide insight into the current dynamics of the negotiations? What are the latest details, given that the Shin Bet chief, Ronen Bar, is in Egypt for it right now?
Yeah, the fact that our chief of Shin Bet is there, it means that maybe some things are moving on the right track. But so far, it's been like meeting a dead end every time, because Hamas is really playing with everyone. You know, it's an ISIS a terror organization that is trying to emotionally exhaust the government of Israel, but first and foremost the families of the hostages. So it's like one step ahead, half a step back. Nothing is over till everything is over, and it seems like the real gap now is in the numbers. The Hamas, they're trying to actually release as few hostages as possible in order to protract, because they see these hostages as their insurance policy. And of course, Israel would like all of them to be released at once without any selection. All of them should be released. And so it will be something in the middle. Numbers, whether it's 50 or 80 or 100, it's terrible that we need to trade hostages like that, but it's all because of the cruelty, the ruthlessness of Hamas.
Dani, I'd like to ask you something more personal. Of course, it's the right of the people to know, and everyone in Israel is so united for the cause, and everyone worries so much. But do you think it's a good thing these things are being discussed in the media? I mean, all the details, everything that's happening, or maybe there are things that we still don't know?
Well, I would say there is a tension for sure. Israel is a democracy and free press. Everything is out there. That's also part of our DNA to discuss everything publicly. Nothing is, hush-hush or hidden. Unfortunately, this is also sometimes being taken advantage of by the terrorists, because they can read us as an open book and they can play us, with releasing pictures or videos that they force upon the hostages to send us some things. But I think I was very impressed by the fact that most, if not all, Israeli media self-censored themselves with not showing these provocative videos of Hamas. I think this is kind of taking away a powerful psychological tool that Hamas is trying to actually use against us.
Definitely. Now, we're seeing really President Biden sending messages of hope from the United States. Can Israel really trust Hamas to deliver here about everything that's done?
No, you can never trust Hamas, unfortunately. And I can understand. By the way, President Biden has been really staunch supporter, and I think his leadership from the day one, 7th of October until now, has really made the entire leadership of the United States much stronger. And the understanding by President Biden that this is not a war between Israel and the terrorist organization of Hamas, ISIS, but actually between the Islamist jihadist world supported by Iran and China and Russia against the liberal democracies of the West. And Israel is just in the trenches here. So this has been great. And yes, he would, of course, there are 9 American hostages there. So he personally would like to see them being released.
Of course, Dani, now really short, we're seeing crimes against humanity in the most cruel levels. There are babies and elderly in Gaza for 40 days now, 40 days of no list on who's there, alive or dead. Everything is based on videos that circulated in the first few days, maybe intelligence, not one Red Cross visit. Tell me, how is that possible on the diplomatic level? How are there no clear, minimal rules here? I mean, it's truly unimaginable what's happening.
Well, this is hypocrisy. This is the cynicism of the international community. Some of them are very quick on jumping the gun and criticizing Israel for our self-defense, the very legitimate self-defense. They're ignoring the crimes against humanity of Hamas. And unfortunately also ICRC, the International Red Cross, is very, very ineffective in the sense that they should have been much more forceful in demanding, first and foremost, as you mentioned, to get the list. We don't even have the official list of the kidnapped, not to mention visiting them. That's also a basic thing to visit them. None of this has been in effect, unfortunately. So we will have to rely only upon ourselves and our intelligence services, and this is how we got all the names, is only through our intelligence services. And then there is, I believe, a little bit giving a slack to Qatar. Without Qatar, Hamas wouldn't be where it is now, with all the financing and the political support. And Qatar should have been made to put much more effective pressure on Hamas.
Definitely, Danny, we're really praying for their safe return. Thank you so much for joining us today. And let's hope next time we talk, they're back here. 15-year-old Dafna and 8-year-old Ella Eliakim spent the weekend with their father at Kibbutz Nachal Oz when Hamas terrorists broke into their house on Saturday morning. They murdered their father, his partner, and her son, not before they used the young boy to tour the kibbutz with them to get people out of their safe room so they can shoot them. All of this in front of the two sisters while documenting everything on Facebook Live, and then abducted Dafna and Ella into Gaza. Two amazing girls with a big and kind heart, best friends who just want to upload videos to TikTok and laugh. Mayan, seeing Dafna and Ella's mother, says in pain, "I want my daughters here now. Every evening, darkness falls again, and my daughters are in Gaza. They have seen horrors and who knows what else." Israel is ready to expand the war with Hezbollah if necessary. That's the word from Minister Benny Gantz after meeting with the IDF Northern Command. The latest warning came amid continuing terrorist provocations on the Lebanese border. And more from ILTV's Steve Leibovich.
After meeting, the IDF Northern Command Minister and former IDF Chief of Staff Benny Gantz said the Army is ready to move north if ordered.
ביקרתי מוקדם יותר היום גם בפיקוד הצפון. שם ובשטח יש דריכות, פעילות מבצעית אפקטיבית ומוכנות להרחבת המערכה ככל שידרש.
Gantz's comments followed an IDF strike on a Hezbollah observation post in South Lebanon in response to attacks on the northern border. Mortars were fired at Mount Dove and the Margoliot area, and Hezbollah members opened fire with light arms at Mizgav Am. The IDF said it responded with artillery shelling to each incident.
אנחנו מודעים ליכולות החזקות של חיזבאללה, אנחנו גם מודעים ליכולות החזקות מאוד שלנו. אנחנו נמשיך לפעול בהגנה ובהתקפה ככל שידרש, ואם נצטרך להפיל מכה כואבת על לבנון וחיזבאללה, אנחנו יודעים לעשות את זה ולעשות את זה קטלני.
Gantz guaranteed that security will soon be restored to communities on the northern border that have been evacuated.
It is seeking security in the northern area just as it seeks security elsewhere, and we will continue to do whatever we need. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, in the south, a surface-to-surface missile believed to have been launched from Yemen at Israel's southern city of Eilat was intercepted over the Red Sea. The IDF says that the Arrow air defense system shot down the missile. Sirens sounded in Eilat, although the missile did not enter Israeli airspace.
After being screened to a group of 100 foreign journalists in Israel, the Israeli Knesset and a group of prominent Hollywood figures, the film of Hamas atrocities filmed by their own body cameras was screened to members of Congress, leaving the room in shock and tears. ILTV's Devo Klein with the voices.
The Israeli embassy in the United States showcased the 47-minute film of Hamas's atrocities to a gathering of 150 members of Congress, cutting across party lines. This screening, organized by the House Foreign Affairs Committee just hours before the large pro-Israel rally in Washington, left lawmakers visibly disturbed, some even in tears. prominent figures like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Representative Mike Lawler expressed disbelief at the harrowing footage, with some drawing parallels to the Holocaust. The 47-minute video includes footage taken from GoPro cameras worn by Hamas, cell phone videos of the attackers, and footage from the cell phones of victims and first responders. Lawmakers, including those critical of Israel, left the screening in silence with emotions running high. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson described the film as agonizing and called for increased aid to Israel. He echoed Prime Minister Netanyahu's characterization of the conflict as a battle between good and evil, light and darkness. Israel's ambassador to Washington, Mike Herzog, emphasized the importance of presenting evidence to combat denial and international indifference. Israeli government spokesman Eylon Levy has stressed the importance of confronting and refuting Hamas-controlled propaganda seeking to whitewash the Hamas massacre. Meanwhile, Senator Bernie Sanders, in a meeting with Israeli officials, addressed the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Despite acknowledging Hamas as a nightmare, Sanders criticized Israeli policies while calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
And on to something beautiful in these hard times. In a monumental show of solidarity, Washington, D.C. witnessed the largest pro-Israel gathering in U.S. history as over 300,000 people converged for the March for Israel on Tuesday. The event featured speeches from diplomats, renowned actors, and relatives of the 240 hostages taken captive by Hamas, emphasizing the urgency of their release. Here they are.
As I stand here on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., I'm surrounded by thousands, countless thousands of people going all the way from this stage all the way towards the Washington Monument.
We've heard many echo the Hamas
and as
rallying cry
a Jew, as an Israeli in America, I am empowered by all of these people during our dark grief, our deep mourning, and as we know that we need to fight, we also need to gather here in safe spaces for us to embrace that unity that we need, that solidarity that we need, and understanding that we as the Jewish people and our true allies need to rise up, need to speak up, and need to join together.
We must finish the war to send a loud and clear message to Hamas's evil sponsors in Iran and Iranian proxies. Israel will never tolerate any attack on our soil.
Prime Minister Netanyahu says so well, this is a fight between good and evil, between light and darkness, between civilization and barbarism.
We are all being tested. A tsunami of hate has crashed down upon us, and then a deafening silence. We see clearly now. We see naked, virulent Jew hatred being disguised as a noble call for liberation, and we reject it.
And right now we join together because we needed this solidarity, we needed this unity. We needed to come together in a time that most of us have never seen. Not since what my grandparents spoke about when they survived the Holocaust, the stories that they shared of people attacking them. I never thought I would see what we are seeing in our world today, but we are. And it takes us, people, to rise up, speak up, take action in order to change our society and make it a safe space for Jews, because Jewish lives do matter.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy conditions expected tonight throughout the country with lows of 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, scattered showers expected in the north and mostly sunny skies in the south, reaching highs of around 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our ILTV channels, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and do not forget to check out our new and improved website, ILTV.tv, with all of the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel. I'm Amit Harari. Stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.